Wilberforce. I'm going to present William Wilberforce. He was best known as an abolitionist and a politician. So he was born August 24th, 1759 in Hull, Yorkshire, England, which is like somewhere around here in the map picture. He was the only son of Robert and Elizabeth Bird, but he had two other sisters and later another younger sister. Both his sister, Elizabeth, and his father caught a fever and died when William was only 9. And soon after, his mother bore another younger sister, Anne. She caught a fever as well. So William was sent to live with his uncle and aunt because his mother was sick, where he learned and developed the Christian faith. His mother recovered, but when she learned that William had been associating with what she thought were religious fanatics, she quickly brought him back home, where he was sent to a boarding school. His faith was soon smothered, and his sister, Anne, caught fever, and when William was in his early teens, she also died as well. So his father and 2 of his sisters died, which is kind of tragic. He was accepted into Cambridge University, but surprisingly and ironically, the head tutor told him he didn't need to study or attend lectures. He said there were 3 people: those who are destined to work in church, study and pray all day, and then 2 ambitious lawyers, difficult classes, laboring over law books and perfecting their Latin. And then the 3rd group were young men who would become somebody in the world by virtue of family or wealth. And William Wilberforce, the head tutor, thought that he would fall into the 3rd category because he was very wealthy. Soon enough, he was hosting parties in his dorm every night. His grandfather had left a great amount of wealth, but William was frivolous. He would spend it really freely. He became close friends with William Pitt, but was known more as a good friend than a good student. William Pitt was also a student at Cambridge. He was elected to Parliament as a representative of his hometown Hull. He bribed some of his voters, but during that time, it was a fairly common election strategy. The British were dealing with the American colony, so there was a great deal of political turmoil in the British government. And during that, the king elected William Pitt as prime minister. So he became a representative of Hull in Parliament, and his good friend William Pitt became prime minister. Okay. William came to know Isaac Milner, a brilliant mathematician and professor at Cambridge, who was also a brother of William's old schoolmaster in Hull. The 2 grew fond of each other, and on their trip to mainland Europe, along with William's mother and sister, they read and discussed the book, The Rise and Progress of Religion in the Soul, a book that William's cousin had recently finished reading. The book started both their minds thinking, and over the course of their discussions, William became convinced that Christianity was true. But he was conflicted because he wasn't sure whether he should remain in Parliament, arguing with all the other men, or whether he should live a life of solitude, which was what John Newton, his old minister at his church, you probably know him as the man who wrote Amazing Grace. That's what he did. John Newton resided in a church, and he lived a life of solitude. So William wasn't sure whether or not he should remain in the Parliament. But ultimately, with the support of his friend William Pitt, he decided to continue in politics and work for God there. William was still unsure of what in particular God wanted him to do. But in January 1787, his wondering ceased. Thomas Clarkson, an abolitionist and former Cambridge student, appeared at William's doorstep. After talking, Thomas left William with a book to read about slavery and the bondage of Africans. An official committee was formed and named the Abolition of the Slave Trade, which William was a member of. Their ultimate goal was the abolition of British involvement in slavery anywhere in the world. So that included the East India slave trade. His spiritual advisor became John Newton, the former slave trader who had repented and had been the pastor at William's church, the writer of Amazing Grace. Okay, so in the House of Commons, Wilberforce was an eloquent sponsor of anti-slavery legislation. So he was basically there. He put forth all the motions for the abolitionist movement. In 1789, he introduced 12 resolutions against the slave trade and gave what many newspapers at that time considered one of the most eloquent speeches ever delivered in the Commons. But the issue was postponed until the next session of Parliament. In 1791, he again brought a motion to the House of Commons to abolish the slave trade, but it was defeated. In 1792, Wilberforce, supported by hundreds of thousands of British subjects who had signed petitions favoring the abolition of the slave trade, put forward another motion, but again, wasn't fully accepted. Instead, a member of Parliament proposed a gradual abolition, which wasn't what William wanted. For the next 15 years, he couldn't progress his motion much further. They were stagnant, but that was also partially due to his deteriorating health. In 1807, though, he finally achieved success. On February 23rd, a bill to abolish the slave trade in the British West Indies was passed 283 to 16, and it became law on March 25th. He completed all of this, although his poor health plagued him his entire life, sometimes keeping him bedridden for weeks. During one such time in his late 20s, he wrote, "I am still a close prisoner, wholly unequal even to such little business as I am now engaged in. Add to which my eyes are so bad that I can scarce see how to direct my pen." He survived this and other bouts of debilitating illness with the help of opium, but it was a new drug at the time, so the effects were unknown. Wilberforce soon became addicted, and the opium's hallucinatory powers terrified him, and the depressions it caused virtually crippled him at times, because they didn't know the side effects of opium. When healthy, however, he was a persistent and effective politician, partly to his natural charm and partly to his eloquence. He then worked to ensure the slave trade laws were enforced, and finally, that slavery in the British Empire was abolished. Wilberforce's health prevented him from leading the last charge, per se, since the law passed in 1807. It didn't apply, it didn't pertain to the slaves who were already in bondage, to those who were already enslaved. Though he heard 3 days before he died that the final passage of the Emancipation Bill was ensured in committee. Finally, William retired from politics in 1825 and died on July 29th, 1833. He was buried near his friend Pitt in Westminster Abbey. And that's all I have.
Okay, great. Let's give him the hands up, but great job. Wow. Thank you, Zachary. You've also taken a lot of interesting background of his life. It's always, William Wilberforce, always a great example for us to learn, especially for during this time age, right? How Christian should get involved. Oh, I need to put the sound, sorry. Oh, hi, yeah, it's good to turn your video on. We can see the person, okay? All right. Oh, why am I here? Sorry. Okay. Do you see the full screen? Okay, good. Okay, thank you for coming again. That's almost this lecture 4. So let's get into it. I hope you still following the reading requirement, especially today, the great story. All right, let's test this again. 4 basic questions of worldview. What's number 1, Jane?
Creation.
Okay, number 2, David. Rita, what's the second one?
Fall. What has gone wrong with the world?
Okay. William, what's number 3? Redemption. Okay. Number 4, Eileen.
I don't remember.
Restoration. Okay. Don't forget. Actually, do you have notes? I posted in the Telegram. Okay. Or in the book. Okay. I can guarantee the final exam, you're going to have these 4 questions. All right. Very easy. Ideas have what, Nathan? Ideas have I don't know. Who knows?
Can I say it? Consequences?
Yes. Ideas have consequence. All right. Okay. Lecture 4, life worth living. Okay, this is already there. Whenever you hear people say anything, you always need to, in your mind, okay, not really say to this person, okay, in your mind say, excuse me? Who said that? According to what theory? And what does the Bible say? Okay, hope through this class, you always build up this idea. When you hear some people say anything, all right, so, oh, who said that? And according to what theory? What does the Bible say? This will help us to analyze, okay, to build up our worldview. I hope you, who has read this chapter 11, about the story of Ken? Anybody? Anybody read that yet? Do I see any hands? No?
I read it, but like it was like a long time ago.
Long time, okay.
Like last year.
Okay. Oh, this fascinating story, especially guys. This is about Vietnam War. This guy, he's so severely wounded, and then the doctor is a Christian, and just decides, should I save this such precious soldier? Like he still try his best to fix him. All right. So, Brendan, can you read it for me?
Look, Ken, why send blind double amputees with significant brain damage back to their parents? What were you thinking? Swan found himself responding from his gut. I was trained to treat the sick. It's not up to me who lives and dies. That's God's decision.
Wow, so that's the doctors. And that's the the soldier, that's his prayer, right? Let's see. Jen, can you read that?
God, if you are there and will be with me, let me know. He prayed, give me a sign. What sign? In an instant, he made that deal. You can take my eyes, you can take my arms, my legs, my mind, but leave my life.
Okay. So he really has such picture of a life, but he just pleaded to God, said, just give me life. You can take any part. And this is a fascinating story. And it's a real story. Tell us that what makes a person's life worth living. And we need to think about this. It's very important because this is very personal. Who we are. What is the meaning of the human existence? Why are we here? What is the value of human life? Probably this is very personal, important question. You can say, oh, creation, whatever, this is out there, but this is personal, that's us. So the question of where life comes from is not some academic argument for scientists to debate. Our understanding of the origin of life is intensely personal. It determines what we believe about human identity, what we value, and what we believe is our very reason for living. It determines who lives and who dies. So what we studied today, this is very, very important. Not only determine you alive, how you're going to live and die, maybe going to affect other people too. Actually, I always say, why I'm going to teach young guys like you, because you are my 401k. You know what's 401k? As your parent, they all have 401k, your future retirement investment. But My future is all on your hands. When you grow up, you're going to make policies, and the policy is going to affect me. All right. So I'm doing this for my future investment. All right. So again, we're going to see the secular view and the biblical view. All right. And we always started from the secular view to see life. Life. Oh, evolution. They call human beings the Homo sapiens, means a wisdom, a person with wisdom, and started about 200,000 years ago. Okay, in Africa. Probably you know that. And it's so interesting. In 1996, there's a zoo in Copenhagen. That's an exhibition. The two, a couple, they want to show we are just like animals. So they have a cage there, and there's a Homo sapiens, and they live there. But guess what? They have a cross on. And then when they go to use restroom, they go to private restroom. Isn't it ironic? They want to show we are no different than other animals, but they still want to have their privacy. You just see how people's thinking are. And today we look at life when we touch about abortion. It's my body, isn't it? If we were not created by God and therefore are not bounded by his law, if we are simply the most advanced of the primates, why shouldn't we do whatever we choose, right? Just do it. If we're not created by God, nobody can dictate us. And so we just do whatever we like to do. And this is idea called, I think therefore I am. Who said that? Oh, it's already there. Descartes, right? The revolutionary idea that the human mind, not God, is a source of certainty, but also make our mind more important than the body also, right? If a person, this becomes like, if you cannot think, then you're not existence. And so you can argue, oh, the baby or fetus are in mama's womb. He's not able to think. So it's not a person, all right? The death of God means the death of morality. If God does not exist, then everything is permissible. Do you agree with that? Really? Our world doesn't only two views, God or no God, right? So if God created everything, then we follow him. If not, yes, we follow whoever is in power. All right. So you can see that unfold this idea. So who want to explain this? Do you know this case, Roe versus Wade? Maybe Jen Leo, can you just read it so we can understand this?
Roe versus Wade, January 22, 1973. In 1970, a Texan woman called Norma McCorvey, who used the pseudonym Jane Roe, became pregnant and decided to fight the anti-abortion legislation of her state. She took Henry Wade, the Dallas district attorney, to court. In January 1973, in the now notorious Roe versus Wade case, the U.S. Supreme Court declared by 7 votes to 2 that the Texas law was unconstitutional. Its judgment inhibited all regulation of abortion during the first 3 months of pregnancy, and during the 2nd and 3rd trimesters regulated it only in relation to the mother's physical or mental health. This ruling implicitly permitted abortion on demand at every stage of pregnancy.
Okay, so that's what opened the gate of abortion in 1973. Probably we heard this on the news all the time. But there's a lot of detail to dig into that. They also divided the pregnancy to three stages. And you can do much easier on the first stage, but then you cannot do 2nd and 3rd. So later on, there's a lot of fighting here, all right? So that's just idea that this changed the American that abortion become legal, right? So that's why we're still fighting today, right? And we'll see. Isn't it interesting that uterus, right? And you know the Chinese name for this called 子宫. And they say, oh, that's child's palace. So Chinese ask the wisdom to name this, right? It's child's palace, supposed to be a very safe place, right? But actually now is the most dangerous place for a baby to be in mother's womb. This is the abortion clocks. I just picked it up this morning. So since that law legalized abortion, 1973, 62 million babies die. How about the black? 18 million. And this black population is only about 12.7, but they compose 30% of abortion. And this is just worldwide. So every day, the almost 44,000 babies die. So this is something we need to face as a Christian, or even as just ordinary people. Whenever a person dies, right, we feel so angry, right? We protest. But why? How come people don't protest on those babies die? You know, and such great number because we don't see it. 2014, approximately 19% of U.S. pregnancy ended in abortion, almost 20%. New York, even higher, 35% of all pregnancy in U.S. ended in abortion. Wow. And usually, I know people will argue this, oh, how about the incest? How about the rapes? How about all this, right? And this is just a study from Florida recording the reason. And you can see majority is no reason, 75%, right? And for those real cases, it's very, very, very tiny. But unfortunately, usually in the debate or argument or discussion, we always just pick those very, very tiny. And with that, so many other babies got eliminated. So that's something we need to know. And also we need to know it's also a big business, 700 million year industry for abortion. And it's primarily done by Planned Parenthood. I look into this, just look at all the nations. I'm from Taiwan, so I look at that. It's scary. Taiwan aborted 500,000 babies for more than newborn. Wow. You see that culture, right? We just need to think about it, whether it's legal or not. Do we care? Do we care to say, how about all these babies? China, even worse, is number one. Oh, so mix that. China aborted 13 million babies every year, ranking the first in the world. The Hitler said, Stalin said, when one man dies, it is a tragedy. When 1,000 die, it is statistics. Isn't that true? So wow, we just see just a number, so many people die. Or even we don't say that this abortion is not a baby, right? Well, that's what Bible says, rescue those who are being taken away to death. Hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. Probably we should say we do, as a Christian, we do very, very little on this issue, right? Catholic do a lot more than us. When I was working, I have a very close friend, my colleague, nice gentleman. He's from Ireland descent. I would never imagine he would go to abortion clinic to protest. and even got arrested. And he gave me a lot of tapes that's many years ago. Yeah. So I never seen such nice devoted Catholics. All right. So we are living in the death of culture of death. Abortion is a wedge used to split open the historical Western commitment to the dignity of human life. You all know Tim Tebow, right? I'm going to show you this this advertisement during the Super Bowl. All right.
I call him my miracle baby. He almost didn't make it into this world. I can remember so many times when I almost lost him. It was so hard. Well, he's all grown up now, and I still worry about his health. You know, with all our family's been through, we have to be tough. Timmy, we're trying to tell our story here.
Sorry about that, Mom. You still worry about me, Mom?
Well, yeah, you're not nearly as tough as I am.
Okay, probably you didn't know that Tim Tebow's parents are missionary in Philippines, and when the mother have Tim in a womb, that doctor said you need to abort the baby because that's a problem. But because their Christian belief, they didn't do it, and you see, Tim Tebow is the tallest, biggest in their family, right? So we're going to look at second one is eugenics, quality of life. Can I ask you what make a person worth to live? Is he gotta have, what type of person can live worth of good quality? How about that? Anybody? What do you mean by a good quality of life? When I was many years ago, when I was sharing this with one of my youth group girls, she said, "Oh, if a person cannot go to college, then his life or her life is not worth it." Wow! I said, "Where do you get this from?" So kind of college education, we make it as a requirement for person to have a quality of life. So that's a lot of this interesting, idea that young people are thinking. We later going to talk about. I just see a lot of this idea. Okay, euthanasia. Interesting. The word euthanasia means good death. Good death. But in the Bible, what death means in the Bible? Death is the enemy of God, right? When Jesus resurrected, the Bible said that defeat the enemy. That death, right? Because why? Because death comes from sin. The wage of sin is death. So that's never associated as a good. Every person die, actually, at best proof we are sinners. If I ask you why people die, you don't give me the answer from the Bible. Why people die? Anybody? Nathan, why people die?
From the Bible?
No, don't use the answer from the Bible. Why people die?
What do you want the answer to be like?
I don't know. Maybe you learn from evolution or father. See, what did they say? Why people would die?
Isn't death like a part of life?
It's part of life. Just
that everyone goes through it. There's not really why people die.
Just no reason. This is
people just die. That's just how it's always been.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Because there's no answer for it, right?
Yeah.
Outside the Bible, there's no answer, right? Because you just see everybody just die, but only Bible gives us the answer, and Bible's answer equals a sin, and that's the best proof. You see, rich people will die, young, poor people will die, people with IQ, very smart people will die, very regular people all die. That means we are sinners. Isn't a great proof of what Bible said? will die because we are sin. Okay. All right. So creations. When we talk about life, I want you to have these two basic ideas. I hope you have the notes. I already posted in the Telegram. All right. First is the sovereignty of God. All right. Sovereignty of God. Zachary, can you read this verse? Zachary, can you read this verse?
Sure. Acts 17:24. The God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man, nor is he served by human hands, as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything.
Okay, so God is a life giver, right? So this is a very important concept. So God created everything, especially he created life, and he's the life giver to all of us. So everybody's life actually is ownership is God, not us. And so he has authority. When you hide your face, they're dismayed. When you take away their breath, they die and return to their dust. And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord taken away. Blessed is the name of the Lord. We all know this song, right? He give and take away. He give and take away, right? So when you see that
one. That's blessed be your name. Blessed be the name.
Yeah. Blessed be the name of the Lord, right? So that's telling us life belongs to God. All right. He give. So that's for Mother Teresa. Only God can decide life and death. That's why abortion is such terrible sin. You're not only killing life, but putting yourself before God. Yet people decide who has to live and who has to die. They want to make themselves Almighty God. They want to take the power of God in their hand. The way to say, I can do without God. I can decide. This is the most delicious thing that a human hand can do. Wow. Look at it. This thing happening every day in so many. So first thing we need to know, sanctity, the sovereignty of God, life. So whenever they touch life, we got to be very careful because they don't belong to us. Okay, they belong to God. This is very, and then second one is sanctity of the human life. Why? Because human life is created by God's image. In the image of God, he created male and female. He created them. We need to understand all this from Bible, right? It's not just say, I don't like abortion, or I don't like this thing. I prefer this thing. All right. We need to know the word of God and also see how that portray. So human being not only precious because it's image of God. And even our birth certificate talk about this, right? We all create equal because there's a creator, right? And that's why God legislates to protect life, right? Whoever shed the blood of man by man should his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image. So normally Christian would support death penalty. Is from this verse. It's not because Christians are mean, because Christians care what God cares. God specially said, why need to have a death penalty? Because that's God's image. What you kill, what you destroy is the image of God. So God said, you have to pay the price in order to protect life. All right. And we all know in Exodus, the 10 Commandments said, you should not murder. Murder and kill is different, right? People say, oh, then you couldn't be a soldier, right? Then you couldn't be a policeman. It is because you should not murder. Policemen need to stop the crime, all right? So number 4, when does life begin? When? Or you can say from what you learned from the world. What the world tells us, when does the life begin? Anybody want to share?
When God created the world.
No, a person. Okay, a person's life.
A mother's womb.
Okay. When?
What do you mean when? Like just mother's womb.
Or even the beginning, when they conceive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But how about the word? Do you hear any other way of saying when does life begin?
At the end of your comfort zone?
Who said that?
I did.
That's my sermon. That's right. That's out of your comfort zone. Yeah. But I'm not talking about that. Okay, I'm talking about the baby's life. Thank you. Good, you memorized that. Yeah. So that's because many ideas talk about the baby in the womb is not a person. It's not no life. You heard about that? Because basically that's the argument of that, right? So
I heard that.
Yes.
I heard that when the abortion, sometimes the baby can feel it.
Yeah. But how about if even baby cannot feel it? Is that okay?
I think it's like they're
okay.
arguing because murder, thou shalt not murder, that's killing of life, and they're arguing if a fetus is actually life or not.
It is a what?
Life. Fetus, is it life, or is it like,
yeah,
I think they call it like a glob of like glob of cells, or is it life?
Yeah. Okay. But some will argue that there's just a bunch of tissue, right? There's no life there, right? Or they cannot think, they cannot. So you can see have a lot of definition coming up. So, and also a great, often the argument originally is that because you cannot have abortion, back then it's illegal. So many people, they do it illegally, and actually their mother's life will be in danger. So that's why. Or how about those young lady, if they have a baby, their life will be ruined because they cannot go to college, they can now have a baby. You see, they all this with compassion. Okay, you can think about actually people who support abortion a lot. They do have a compassion. I did talk to all these was my youth. Okay, actually this lady, she's working, and I have a long discussion with her, and she really she feel that we should support abortion because she has a lot of compassion to those ladies, right? So John Stott said our compassion need both theological and moral guidance. If it is expressed at the expense of truth and justice, it ceases to be genuine compassion. Nowadays, love is very, very popular word, right? People say everything's love, love, love. So we need to support anything, whatever people do, because we need to love them. But here, if there's no standard, then what do you mean by love? If one day people can start to say, I love to, I don't want to say, they just will keep going, right? It concerns the nature of the fetus life or offspring. Interesting. How are we think of the embryo in the mother's womb? It is our evolution of fetus which will largely determine our attitude to abortion. So what do you think? You can call it embryo or fetus, whatever. What do you think it will determine? Are you okay to abort it? Right? Thanks God for the sonogram. We can see baby. Do you have this picture? Did your parent give you this picture? Do you see your own picture before was born? No? Jen, Leo, do you have the picture?
My mom's going to get it right now, actually, to show me.
Okay. Yeah, every child, we give them the book, and then they all have this picture. See how beautiful before you were born, right? So you see, that's how can you argue that's not a life? I'm not the doctor, but see, this is you keep on growing. That's so. in 1967, it said, we can find no point in time between the union of sperm and egg and the birth of an infant, at which point we can say that this is not a human life. Yes, we respect the choice. Of course, sounds very good. We respect the right, all right? But if that's involved in other life, I think we should think about it, right? We always have this freedom. You can do whatever you do, but just don't harm other people. Isn't that, we all kind of this common idea, right? Yeah, you can do whatever you want, just don't harm other people. But actually, we don't have such freedom to do whatever we want. Well, you cannot kill yourself because we don't own life. Life belongs to God. So we need to see what God sees in mother's womb. Let's see. Eileen, can you read this verse? Eileen, are you still there? How about Priscilla? Can you read?
Sure. Psalm 139:13. For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance, in your book were written, every one of them, in the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them.
Okay, you see, here God said, this in the mother's womb, God already see us, and we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Jeremiah even said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and therefore you were born. I consecrate you, I appoint you as a prophet to the nation. God see the infant, God see the baby, God see whatever you call, all right, in mother's womb. So what should we do about this? How do we change this culture? All right, we cannot just say, that's not good, that's not good, right? I know, all right, probably a lot of young people, we don't like what Christians say. You just say everything's bad, right? Or even last week we talked about that, right? Oh, you just say evolution is bad, that's bad. Yeah, I don't want to live like that. Just say other people all bad. We need to embrace, celebrate, and protect life. And too often somehow Christian, we just say it, but we don't really live it out. All right. So how do we do it? Where have all the child gone? I always like to pay attention to this topic because Taiwan's number one, and it's certified by CIA. And this is just this year. The CIA said Taiwan has the lowest birth rate, 227 ranking. All right. And why CIA got involved with this? Because the birth rate determines the strength of the nation. It's interesting. So CIA is more interested about the nation. They can be strong or weak. And Taiwan is number one. And my sister was a teacher in Taiwan, and a lot of teachers lost job or they couldn't find job because no student. It's very sad. It's very sad. China population dropped for the first time in 50 years. Remember, before just said China has a one-child policy because too many kids, now is dropping. All right. And so recently just say China say we allow couple to have third child, have 3 children up from 2. But guess what? Probably it's too late. Many young people don't want the kids, you know. So how about America? America birth and fertility rate plunged to all-time low during COVID pandemic. Yeah, our nation is still less babies. I like this one, you know. South Korea could be extended by 2750. So I say, yeah, in a way, in 2750, you don't have a drama, the Korean drama to watch anymore. You don't have K-pop because it's all gone. All Korean be gone. South Korea. But look at what Bible says. Eve, the name of Eve, the mother of all the living. I need someone to read this for me. Ian, can you read this for me? Ian.
Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth.
Wow. You see that? God didn't command them. God didn't force them. God blessed them to be fruitful and multiply. And we also know God, the children of God's gift, heritage for us. But yet, when we reject God, we reject what God thinks is good. And that's why we're living now. We don't think baby is good. We see it's a burden. And yes, many Christians also think that way. All right. So we need to rethink about this. When I just got married, I never come to this verse, say, oh, be fruitful and multiply. I just said, oh, back then. So I never think about how many kids I should have to come to reference the Bible. I always just think about what the world think, right? So the world think, oh, 2 kids is good. All right, let's just have 2 kids. But then, remember I said, excuse me, who says so? Where the theory from? And what does Bible say? Right? So this is a great example here. The world tell you have 2 kids. China said 3 kids. All right. What's the theory? But what does the Bible say? You see this verse? Okay. Let me see who else can read for me. Any volunteer?
I can read it.
Okay.
Psalm 127:3. Behold, children are a heritage of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies in the gate.
Okay. All right. I only have 4. I wish I had more, but I'm too late to find out you can have more kids. All right. So talk about quality. Okay. We'll say, oh, we need to have a quality life. But actually, we all aging. So we do not lose heart, though our outer life cell is wasting away. Our inner cell is being renewed day by day. You all know this guy, right? Nick? And he is life worth living? And actually, you know his story, his struggle, right? Even his parents say, how can this kid survive? But that's his family now. So don't just judge by the appearance, right? God never made mistake. If the life is, or even people make mistake, God still can turn it around. So we should use adoption replace abortion. He presents us for adoption as sons because we are adopted by God. So Christian, we should really do more adoptions. And that's my professor in seminary. He first adopted 2 Russian kids because they could not have child. But after they adopt 2, they have more themselves. They have 4 now. So and he wrote a book, Adopted for Life. So there's a lot of way Christian can do to change the culture. We don't follow what the words said, but we can use the biblical worldview to change. And that is a story from today's chapter. That's a guy, that's a soldier. And many years later, he reunited with his doctor. what I had said the morning after Ken's surgery was true. I was trying to care for the sick and wounded, and God will decide who lives or dies. But the day of our reunion, I knew it was true in the depth of my being. God can work miracles in the most desolate of circumstances for those who, like Ken McGarry, have courage and faith. So that's how we can experience God's miracle, that we treasure God's gift. Because life is God's gift. So we want to treasure it, even if difficult situation. I like this verse, right? Can Grace read it for us again?
2 Corinthians 12:9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong.
Okay. So when, yes, a lot of tragedies will happen. People, the girl was raped, and they're facing the situation, should they keep the baby or not? But we can give them hope. And the baby could be adopted because that's a life. And in many cases, you can see the testimony on those cases. So mainly we will trust God's word and live according to his words. I want to use this to end. Who know this Johnny Erickson? Anybody heard about him? Her? Grace? Okay, you want to tell us people who is Johnny Erickson?
From what I know about it, Johnny Erickson Tada is someone who is a quadriplegic because of an accident that she had earlier in her life. I think I forgot where the accident came from, probably from a swimming accident, but then she became a quadriplegic. But now God is using her to help many disabled people, and she has like a ministry on that.
Yeah, she's diving. She's to dive in the river, but she's miscalculated the depth. So when she dived into the river, she got injured. So she was very athletic, very, very active, teenagers, right? And that's ended with her song. He can draw. She wrote 40 books, and she sing.
We are the ones who run to you when we are weak. And you know this body, you formed this body. This is a quadriplegic body that is broken. My lungs are limited, but there's this fine balance between presenting to you all of my weakness and thinking that it can't be done. I don't want to think that it can't be done. And so, Father, I pray that you will mitigate any crackiness in my voice, any age in my voice, any tiredness in my voice. And please give me your strength. These words talk about, in your strength, I find my own. And so make that my prayer. I make that my prayer, Lord God.
I'm alone, yet not alone. God's the light that will guide me home. With his love and tenderness, leading through the wilderness, and wherever I may roam, I'm alone, yet not alone. I will not be bent in fear. He's the refuge I know is near. In his strength I find my own. By his faithfulness he showed that so mighty is his shield, or his love is now revealed. steps are lost and desperate for a guide, I can feel his touch, a soothing presence by my side. Alone, yet not alone, not forsaken when on my own. I can lean upon his arm and be lifted up from harm. If I stumble or if I'm thrown, I'm alone, yet not alone. When my steps are lost and desperate for a guide, I can feel his touch, a soothing presence by my side, by my side. He has bound me with his love. Watchful angels look from above. Every evil can be brave, for I know I will be safe, never frightened on my own. I'm alone, yet not alone. I'm alone, yet not
Wow. Hope you got encouraged. My daughter subscribed her blog. Every day she sent out the blog, a lot of encouraging words. And you know, every day she still live in pain. Don't think just she's living in pain every day. Okay, so this will be a question to discuss. How does the world define the value of life? Are you currently thought and opinions on the value of life influenced by the world? How can Christian and church